You've spent decades planning for retirement. You've saved, you've counted down the days, you've dreamed of all that freedom. But what happens when, after that initial celebration, the reality feels, well, a little different, maybe even a little empty? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful set of ideas that not only explain this super common feeling, but also give you a concrete path forward.
Listen to this because it hits the nail on the head for so many people. The central isolating emotional experience of the initial retirement phase is that the profound, unshakable happiness you anticipated after decades of work suddenly gives way to a complex blend of restlessness, confusion, and even a sense of mourning. Wow. For a lot of people, that feeling is a private, maybe even a shameful secret. I mean, you've worked your whole life for this moment, right? So why isn't it pure bliss? If this sounds at all familiar, please know you are not alone. This is an incredibly common experience. It's just one we rarely talk about. It's not a sign you failed at retirement. It's a sign that you're in a totally predictable and manageable stage of a huge life transition.
So the big question is, what's actually happening here? Why does this paradise you planned for so carefully suddenly feel so unsettling? You know, the answer isn't just go find a new hobby. This isn't some random emotion. There are deep, structural reasons for this, and understanding them, that's the very first step toward building something much more fulfilling.
Turns out, this experience actually has a name, the retirement letdown effect. And you know, just giving it a name is a pretty powerful first step. It takes the feeling from, what's wrong with me, to, oh, this is a thing. It transforms what feels like your own private problem into a recognized, shared pattern. It's a predictable crisis, that's the key word, an emotional speed bump that happens when the future you imagined meets the unstructured reality of today. And because it's predictable, we can prepare for it, and we can absolutely navigate through it.
So, to really get a handle on this, we need to kind of look under the hood at the why. There are two major forces at play here. One is all about the structure of your daily life, and the other is about how our brains are actually wired for happiness. Let's break them both down.
For decades, your life was pretty much organized by what you could call an extrinsic motivation system. This slide lays it out perfectly. Your paycheck? It wasn't just money. It was this clear signal that you did a good job. Your title? That was a huge part of your identity. Your schedule, even the parts you hated, gave your days a rhythm, a framework. And your colleagues? They provided social connection, a sense of being on a team. Then, boom, one day you retire and that entire external scaffolding just vanishes. It's not a slow decline, it's a sudden collapse.
The result of that collapse is something called the vacuum of routine. Just think about it for a second. All that time that used to be filled with meetings, commutes, deadlines, coffee breaks, it's now just open. And while that sounds like the ultimate freedom, for a lot of us, it can feel like a void. It's disorienting. That old structure, even when it was stressful, it gave your life shape and momentum. Without it, it's so easy to feel adrift, kind of like a ship without a rudder.
Now for the second piece of the puzzle. It's this fascinating thing our brains do called hedonic adaptation. Basically, humans are amazing at getting used to things. Whether it's winning the lottery or buying a new car, that initial rush of intense happiness, it naturally fades over time. That new amazing thing just becomes your new normal. Our brains are literally designed to return to a baseline level of contentment.
And this explains exactly what happens in retirement. The first few weeks, maybe months, that's the honeymoon phase. No alarm clock, no meetings, it's thrilling. But hedonic adaptation guarantees that thrill is going to fade. And when it does, when the novelty of pure freedom wears off, what are you left with? You're left staring right into that vacuum of routine we just talked about. The way our brain works actually exposes the underlying structural problem. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, a collapsed external structure and a brain that naturally normalizes joy. Now that might sound a little bleak, but it actually points us directly to the solution. If the loss of a structure is the problem, well, then building a new one is the answer. So let's talk about that new framework.
This is it. This is probably the single most important idea we're going to talk about. Fulfillment is a structure, not a default. We kind of think that happiness in retirement will just show up automatically once the stress of work is gone, but it doesn't work that way. Meaningful, lasting fulfillment is something you have to consciously and deliberately build. It's an act of construction, not just something you stumble into.
And the blueprint for that construction is called the Meaning Scaffolding Protocol, or MSP for short. The name is perfect, isn't it? Just like scaffolding on a building, it's a framework you intentionally put up to build something sturdy and lasting. It's a way to consciously replace that old external work structure with a brand new one that you design, one that's built from the inside out based on what truly matters to you. Now, this protocol isn't some vague idea. It's actually very specific.
It's built on 3 core mandates. Think of them as essential principles that all work together to create this new structure for your life. So these 3 mandates are: first, separating from your old identity; second, finding and firing up new internal motivators; and third, deliberately reframing how you structure your time. Let's take a look at each one.
Okay, this first mandate might sound a bit surprising, but you need to allow yourself to grieve. Seriously, for decades you were the engineer, or the teacher, or the manager. That identity gave you status, community, a clear sense of who you were, and losing it is a real loss. Just like any other loss, it needs to be acknowledged. You can't really build a new identity on top of an old one you haven't let go of. This step is about formally closing a chapter, not to dwell on the past, but to create the emotional and mental space to start writing the next one.
The second step is all about finding a new engine. Your motivation at work was mostly extrinsic, driven by external rewards like a paycheck or a promotion. In retirement, you need to switch gears to intrinsic motivation, doing things that are rewarding in and of themselves. And the 2 most powerful drivers for this stage of life are mastery and generativity. Mastery is just the desire to get better at something that matters to you. Learning an instrument, becoming fluent in a language, finally perfecting your golf swing. And generativity is that deep human need to contribute to the well-being of others and the next generation, mentoring someone, volunteering for a cause you care about, or sharing your wisdom with your family. These become your new paycheck, but they're paid in fulfillment.
And the third mandate gives this a really practical shape. It's the 70-30 rule for your time. This means that roughly 70% of your week should be dedicated to structured, purpose-driven activities, those mastery and generativity goals. The other 30%, that's for pure, flexible leisure, seeing friends, relaxing, being spontaneous. Now, I know what you're thinking. 70% structure? I thought I retired to have 100% leisure. But the research is so clear on this. A life of pure, unstructured leisure quickly leads to boredom and that letdown effect. Turns out that purposeful structure is actually what creates the space for lasting satisfaction. Okay, so we've got the framework. Grieve the old, find new motivators, and structure your time. But how do you actually do that? This next part is all about turning those principles into concrete, practical actions you can start taking, like this week. We're going to walk through 4 specific exercises. We've got the retirement resume, the scheduled competence block, the hedonic reset audit, and the inverse planning rule. Together, these make up a really powerful toolkit for building out your new routine.
First up is the retirement resume. Now, this is not about listing your old job titles to impress anybody. It's actually the opposite. It's an exercise in self-discovery, designed to help you uncouple your identity from your career. You list the skills you have now, and not just professional ones. Maybe you're a great gardener, a patient listener, a super organized planner. You identify your true passions, the things that genuinely spark your curiosity. The whole point is to define yourself based on who you are today and who you want to become, not who you used to be.
Next, we're combining 2 actions that work together perfectly. Scheduling your purpose. A scheduled competence block is simply a non-negotiable appointment with yourself in your calendar dedicated to your mastery or generativity goals. Maybe it's Tuesday and Thursday mornings from 9 to 11 for volunteering. Now here's the magic trick. You use the inverse planning rule. Instead of filling your calendar with leisure and trying to squeeze purpose into the gaps, you do the exact opposite. You put your competence blocks in the calendar first. There are the big rocks. Then you schedule everything else, lunches, appointments, relaxation, around them. This makes purpose the foundation of your week, not an afterthought.
The third action is the hedonic reset audit. This is all about being more intentional with your leisure time. You just look at how you're spending your unstructured hours and you ask a simple question. Is this active engagement or is it passive consumption? Passive consumption is, scrolling on your phone or binge watching a show. It gives you a quick, easy hit of pleasure, but it often leaves you feeling kind of drained. Active engagement involves building a skill, creating something, or connecting with people. It might take a bit more effort up front, but it delivers a much deeper, more lasting sense of satisfaction. The goal here is just to consciously shift that balance more toward active, fulfilling stuff.
As you start to put some of these actions into play, it's really important to have the right mindset. This isn't a quick fix, it's a whole new way of living. It helps to see this early phase of retirement not as some disappointing ending, but as a productive and really purposeful period of construction. I want you to let this idea really sink in. The letdown phase is a temporary, necessary, structural stage. The effort spent building your meaning scaffolding leads to a more resilient and self-determined fulfillment.
That restlessness, that confusion you might feel at first, that's not a sign of failure. It's the dust and noise of a renovation. You're tearing down an old structure that doesn't serve you anymore to make way for something new, something you design, something that is uniquely yours. The effort you put in now will pay dividends for years to come in a fulfillment that is so much more resilient and authentic than you ever expected.
We have covered a lot of ground, from the psychology of the letdown all the way to a full protocol for building a new life structure. So now let's bring it all together and boil it down to one clear takeaway, and a simple, manageable first step for you.
So when you distill it all down, here's the story. That initial retirement letdown, it isn't a personal failing, it's a predictable structural challenge. It's caused by the sudden disappearance of your work routine, that vacuum of routine, and that tricky psychological effect of hedonic adaptation. And the most helpful insight we have is the solution, the Meaning Scaffolding Protocol. It's all about consciously and actively rebuilding that structure, not with external pressures, but with your own internal motivators, the pursuit of mastery and the practice of generativity.
And that brings us to a gentle but direct challenge for you. Look, knowledge is only powerful when we put it into action. So before you move on, just take a second to pause and think. What is one small, specific mastery goal, something you want to get better at, that you can schedule time for this week? And what is one small, specific generativity goal, some way you can contribute or help someone that you can also put on your calendar? It doesn't have to be huge, just one of each. This is how the work begins.
By viewing retirement not as a long vacation or as an ending, but as a purposeful construction phase, you take control. You become the architect of your own well-being. And in doing that, you build a foundation for enduring satisfaction, purpose, and genuine joy. Thanks so much for spending this time with us.